Jagannatha Swamini Nayana Patakami Bhava Tume. O Lord of the universe, please be merciful unto me. Srila Prabhupada, since his childhood, was a great devotee of Jagannath. During Rath Yatra festivities, child Abhay, Prabhupada was then called as Abhay by his dear father. He used to organize Rath Yatra festival near his house. He would call all his childhood friends, and together with the help of his father, they would make a small chariot, and Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra's deities small would be placed inside the chariot, and Abhay would observe Jagannath Rath Yatra festivities, and he would distribute Jagannath Prasadam too. So, and he had a fond memories of he and his sister worshipping Radha Govinda deities across the street. And he used to imitate his father playing mridanga. What Prabhupada Abhay was doing as a child, he continued later also, on the instruction of his spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. 1965, Prabhupada landed in New York. After preaching there for a year or two, in 1966, he incorporated ISKCON. And he had trained a few of his disciples to take up Krishna consciousness seriously. He had even got one of his disciples, Mukunda, married also. And then he requested Mukunda and his wife to go to San Francisco to start a center. But he had different plans. He had wanted to go to India in search of something else. But somehow, by the will of the providence and the blessings of Guru, he decided to go to San Francisco. In San Francisco, there were eventually a center, Haight-Ashbury Street. There was a temple, and there were 3 couples who eventually became disciples of Prabhupada who were preaching there. Shyam Sundar Prabhu, his wife Malati. Shyam Sundar Prabhu saw a small wooden figurine, black in paint with white face and red smile. And on bottom of it, it was written, made in India. So he thought the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is from India. Swamiji is from India. So this should be appreciated by Prabhupada. So let me give it to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada was sitting on his rocking chair and chanting his rounds. He was elegant, he was beaming, he was chanting his rounds. Shyam Sundar Prabhu showed it to Prabhupada, a small figurine. Prabhupada, what is this? Prabhupada's face got lit up suddenly. His eyes swelled in ecstasy, and he beamed with surprise. And he said, he's Lord of the universe, Jagannath, and placed on top of his table. And he offered his obeisances and requested even Shyam Sundar and Mukunda, who was next to him, also to bow down. They couldn't figure out, but they bowed down. Then Swamiji, that's how he was called those days by his disciples. So where did you get him? Shyam Sundar said, Malati, my wife, had bought it from an Indian store. Cost plus imports was the name of the stores. Now Malati, when he narrates how she got this, she said she was just a hippie. She was into drugs along with Shyam Sundar, but somehow with the kripa of Srila Prabhupada, they all had taken up seriously Krishna consciousness, but still had those hippie traits in them. So she had gone to this cost plus imports to pick up a jacket, a Mexican jacket, which she was fond of to use once. But she was going across this stores. She had lost interest because of advancement in Krishna consciousness, probably. But when she was exiting the cost plus imports, she saw three wooden boxes with different figurines, and she liked that small figurine, blackish in complexion, the one who's actually Jagannath. She picked up and put it in her pocket and walked off. Now, when Prabhupada requested Shyam Sundar to call Malati, Malati thought that she's been caught. Now what? Of course, she had no idea about it. She is telling. And Malati came. She was cooking there. And she turned the gas off and maybe put it in a low flame. She rushed towards Prabhupada's quarter. And she offered her obeisances. And her heart was pumping. And probably it was in her mouth. That's what she says. And Prabhupada inquired from her, where did you get him? Oh, Prabhupada, that I got it from Cost Plus Imports, an Indian store. They sell these Indian products there. No, there must be other two. Yes, there are truck, wooden, lot of figurines also. No, there were other two. One is Subhadra, another is Baladeva. One is whitish in complexion, the other one is yellowish in complexion. Can you get them too? And she happily rushes towards that Cost Plus Imports and gets those other two figurines back. And then Prabhupada narrates all of them, all the three couples there, the pastimes of Jagannath. How Jagannath appeared, how King Indradyumna, who heard about the beauty of Neelamadav, wanted to have darshan of Neelamadav. He sent across all his ministers to get the location of Neelamadav. But no one succeeded except one minister, Vidyapati, and eventually he happened to visit that place where he appeared, Neelamadav, but he was not seen there. Then the prophecy that I will soon appear as Daru Brahma, and Daru Brahma in the form of logs appeared through the seas, and when nobody could carve it, then the same Supreme Lord appeared, and as an old Brahmana promised that no one should disturb me for 21 days, and without any disturbance I would carve. And inadvertently on the 14th day, the king intervened, and the deities were half carved, and no hands, no legs, and unorthodox, unconventional forms of the Lord. And that's how the Lord appeared. So he narrated the whole pastimes of Jagannath's appearance as Jagannath in Jagannath Puri on the request of King Indradyumna, and how the great Rath Yatra, of course Rath Yatra he didn't say probably at that point of time. And fortunately, Shyam Sundar Prabhu was a carpenter. So he requested Shyam Sundar Prabhu to make a largest size of Jagannath. And he happily obliged. So one day when he was doing this carpentry, they were still in their hippie states, and some anarthas were still there. They were carving the deities, and once Prabhupada went upstairs to see how he was carving. And he had taken a break, and Jagannath was almost done, and he was still smoking those days even. So he had kept the cigarette butt on top of Jagannath. Then Prabhupada chastised and scolded him and educated him. And since then he stopped smoking. Of course, this is how Prabhupada was cultivating those naive Westerners. And eventually the three deities were carved. and Prabhupada installed those deities. How did he install? A simple altar was made by Shyam Sundar Prabhu, and Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra were there. The altar was closed, and the curtain was closed. Altar in the sense, the curtain was closed. The curtain was opened, and some incense, some candles were offered, and this is how the first installation of Jagannath deities in ISKCON happened. This happened on 26th March 1967 at Frederick Street in San Francisco. And Prabhupada said, now since Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra have come here, they should be offered food. Whatever you cook, it should be offered to them first in sacrifice. They should have a separate set of plates and nobody should dine in that plate. Prabhupada was slowly introducing deity worship to the Westerners. Back then, 5,000 years ago, Lord Chaitanya had predicted that Nagaradi, Gramadi, Sarvatra Prachare Hoibe Moranam, every town and village on this planet Earth, Krishna's name will be chanted or his names will be chanted. Jagannath is none other than Krishna. And Prabhupada brought Jagannath to the West and fulfilled the prophecy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And later, subsequently, 400 years later, even Bhaktivinoda Thakur predicted that this is going to happen, that Westerners from all across the globe would come to Mayapur and would chant Jai Sachidananda, Jai Gaura Hari, together with Bengali Vaishnavas. That happened. And later on in Vrindavan in 1934, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj also predicted, and he said, I wanted Jagannath Baladeva to be sent to London. That was Bhaktisiddhanta. And it is finally destined to Swami Prabhupada, his dearmost disciple, to fulfill the prediction of Supreme Lord, prediction of his great-grand spiritual master and his own spiritual master. Prabhupada did that. Installation is done. The offering has started. The circles of candles have been done. This is a simple aarti, but somebody rang the bell. This is a simple Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra deities established. In fact, Brahmanand Swami also recollects, in 66 itself, Prabhupada wanted Jagannath there in New York, and he sketched a few images of Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, and he wanted this to be carved. But Brahmananda Swami, Brahmananda Prabhu those days, he approached a few vendors and a few artisans to do so, but it was an uncommon figurine, so they didn't take interest, and he failed in executing the request of Srila Prabhupada, which was eventually fulfilled mystically by the small doll bought by Malti Mataji from the Indian stores of Cost Plus Imports in San Francisco. Now, deities were established. Aarti was going on, the simple Aarti, and Kirtan was going on, and he also gave them the Pranama mantra of Jagannatha Swami, Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatume. So this was the first Pranama mantra of the deities. Jagannath deities were established, installed, Aartis happened, offering is started, and they slowly, gradually, Prabhupada is training them all. And there is one place in San Francisco called Golden Gate Park. This is a place where all the hippies in their high would assemble together and would freak out and enjoy there in their own world. Prabhupada used to go there and chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra along with his disciples, and a few hippies used to get attracted as similar to New York, and this is how Prabhupada used to do preaching. So one day, disciples of Prabhupada decided to surprise Swamiji, and Swamiji was doing Kirtan, and they bought Jagannath. And mind you, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra were not clothed. They were just with their paintings, without any clothes. So they, to surprise Srila Prabhupada, they bought Jagannath from the altar to the Golden Gate Park. And Prabhupada was doing Kirtan, and suddenly when he opened his eyes after doing some Kirtan, he saw Jagannath standing next to him. Prabhupada looked at his disciples and Jagannath and continued Kirtan. After the Kirtan and the discourse, he called his disciples, and see, this is how Prabhupada, how much patient he was dealing with this Western, inexperienced, immature, raw devotees, disciples. He said Jagannath doesn't come out alone from the temple. Whenever he comes outside the temple, he comes along with his siblings. Baladev and Subhadra always accompany Jagannath. He doesn't travel alone. They have got such a bonding. They don't travel alone. They travel together. So, and they don't travel like this. They come out in their big car, big cart, big chariot. And Prabhupada started describing how the chariot looks like. And he drew the few descriptions of the chariot, and a few of his disciples, headed by Jayananda Prabhu and Shamsundar Prabhu, made those cars. And it was a lorry, and they took up the lorry and made some arrangement, and somehow made a seemingly looking like a chariot, which is as good as the chariot of Jagannath Puri, similar to that, obviously. And the first Rath Yatra was celebrated in the history of the Western world in San Francisco in 1967 in the month of July. Probably 9th was the date. This time July 8th, those days it was 9th. For the first time, Jagannath came out of Jagannath Puri in the West, in San Francisco. Swami Prabhupada is organizing the first Rath Yatra in San Francisco. March, they were installed, and July 9th, they went out on their first Rath Yatra. And the Rath Yatra was a super duper hit. Prabhupada couldn't attend the Rath Yatra because of his sickness, and they were received, Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra were received by Prabhupada later in another Rath Yatra, and he was very happy seeing the pics. And a profuse amount of prasadam was distributed by the devotees, and they were shocked to see a lot of hippies and even the common populace participating in this beautiful chariot festival. And everyone was satisfied and happy. And how the chariot was being carried, there was a breakdown, and there was a lot of commotion. As usual, that's a part and parcel of ISKCON devotees. The common public doesn't know all about these things. But devotees, when you ask them, they'll know all the commotion which they go through before organizing any event or per se. You can hear those wonderful pastimes from Shamsundar Prabhu in his book called Chasing the Rhinos, part 1 and part 2. Interesting, must read books. And this is how the chariot began. But one thing which is very unique and very special about this appearance of Lord Jagannath in the West was some similarities from its to the original Indradyumna's pastime of Jagannath. When Prabhupada asked Shamsundar Prabhu to carve the deities, he readily agreed. But there was no wooden logs to carve the deities. So they were looking for the wooden logs. San Francisco was on the western coast, seashore, and because of which Prabhupada also named San Francisco as Jagannath Puri, New Jagannath Puri. And they were looking for logs, and they went to the seashore, and in the seashore port, there was a lot of logs. They couldn't siphon off any of those logs because it's all numbered, and the police was guarding those areas. But they found one log which was not numbered, and they decided to take that log and make the deities. When they're about to take up that log, a police came nearby and wanted to verify whether they're stealing it or it's one of the logs of the port. But when he didn't find any marking or numbering, he allowed it. Now, if you just draw the parallels, even the original Jagannath, Dharu Brahma, also came through the seas. And then the deities were carved by Lord himself or Vishwakarma in some other context. Similarly, these deities of Jagannath, which appeared in the West, San Francisco first time, it also came through the oceans and the seas, and the deities established. This is how Jagannath appeared. Prabhupada wrote a letter to Poddar, his dearmost well-wisher and friend. He says, in the West, I've introduced Jagannath worship. Jagannath is very merciful to this Melechas. And his eyes are big, and he's very merciful and compassionate. And all of my disciples, they worship Jagannath, offer food to him and decorate him, and they organize annual Rath yatras. Prabhupada was taking pride in training his disciples and was slowly and gradually introducing all these wonderful Vedic traditions which were followed in Jagannath Puri in India since thousands of years. And today, thanks to Prabhupada's endeavors, efforts and hard work, in just span of 10 to 12 years from 1965 to 1977, he had established 108 temples and 10,000 disciples, farm communities, 80 books, whatnot. Hare Krishna was a household name. Today, when we celebrate Jagannath Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri, on the same day, all across the globe, you name a city, New York, San Francisco, London, Tokyo, Russian capital, Moscow, even in China, Mauritius, India, even in Pakistan, in every city, prominent cities, even the towns and villages, devotees, in a grand scale or in a lower scale, on a small scale, they are celebrating Jagannath Rath Yatra. Jagannath, which was for 1,000 years, he was there, known to, of course, he is Jagannath, Lord of the universe. He has to be known to every person in the whole world. And Jagannath chose Swami Prabhupada to do this, who was just confiscated to the shores of Jagannath Puri, a great devotee, pure devotee, commander-in-chief of Lord Chaitanya's army, took the Lord to the whole world, and the whole world became devotees of Jagannath. And even the untouchables, even the Melechas and Yavanas, the non-Aryans, or worse than them, were also able to get the mercy of Vaishnava and Lord Jagannath. This is how Prabhupada took Jagannath to the West. Thank you, Prabhupada, for giving us Jagannath Rath Yatra, Jagannath Mahaprasadam, Jagannath service. So we are totally indebted to you for all what you have done to us and continue to do. So we should all be serious practitioners of Krishna consciousness, those who are hearing, and spread the glories of Jagannath as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed in Jagannath Puri, he never missed a Rath Yatra. Close to 18 years he was there in this Jagannath Puri and spread the glories of Lord Jagannath. And he wanted his disciple, his commander-in-chief, Srila Prabhupada, to do that. And when Prabhupada was asked, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Krishna himself, why he didn't do himself, spreading the message all across the globe? Prabhupada said he wanted to give the credit to me. So let's take it seriously and spread the glories of Jagannath by taking the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to nook and corner of the whole world. It's our duty, it's our responsibility, and it's the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Amara agna hoye, guru hoye, yare deko tare kaho Krishna upadesh. There's a duty of every Indian. Bharata bhumila janma hoila yaro, karo janma sartak, karo paropakar. This is the paropakara. Indians are meant for that. One great Indian, Swami Srila Prabhupada, of course, he is a divine personality. He cannot be confined. Even if you can tell, it's a duty of responsibility of Indian. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recognized that. So we should take it seriously ourselves. Apani Achari, then Prabhu Jivarashika. It's a role and responsibility of every Indian. Let's do it. So with this I stop. Tomorrow I'm going to share few further sweet nectarian pastimes of Lord Jagannath, where with his devotees, Geeta Panda, He will steal the jackfruits. He would want his disciples to sing beautiful songs for him. He would steal something for his devotees. He would stop his ratha and he would not budge an inch from his part. Even if the king engages the elephants and the pilwans, he would not move an inch until his devotees come down. So many wonderful nectarian sweet pastimes of Jagannath tomorrow. Don't miss the last episode of Jagannath Chronicles without fail. Please do attend. Please encourage others also to participate. And on Sunday evening, 6 o'clock exactly, we're going to celebrate Jagannath Rath Yatra in Hare Krishna Mandir, Ahmedabad. Please don't miss this wonderful opportunity. It is said that anyone who pulls the chariot having darshan of Lord Jagannath is sure to go back home, back to God. Ticket is booked at least. So you please do come and pull the Lord of the universe into your hearts and get the blessings of Srila Prabhupada and his devotees.